I did this tattoo and it was horrible, okay?
Hey everybody! Welcome to Millennial Stoner. I'm Joe Winchell. I am the Millennial Stoner. Hey, I'd like to say also thanks for everybody who's been tuning in and everything like that. We've got a bit of housekeeping to do at the top. And I wanted to say thank you for liking. Thank you for all the views. Keep them coming in. Let's get more. I love you all. A little bit of housekeeping. I've been greeted today, really gifted, really. This company right here called Green Hand Incorporated. All right, that's compliments of my guest coming in. That's his friend's company. What is it, Rob? It's
Marijuanica. It's
Marijuanica.
it's Green Hand VIP service on Instagram.
Yep.
And it's
here.
all sorts of
Instagram?
marijuana and stuff. Yeah, Instagram. That's definitely the best place to go
Green
for
Hand
it.
VIP.
And I've known that guy forever, and that's a good. It's family run.
So Green Hand VIP on or incorporated on Instagram. Check them out, man.
Yeah, what is it under? Is
It's
it
incorporated.
It says incorporated on there?
INC? Or maybe it's VIP. Look up Green Hand.
Wait, Green Hand VIP service.
Oh,
yeah.
there it is. At Green
VIP.
Hand VIP service. Spell out service. I don't know why you wouldn't do that.
It's the green because it's Millennial Stoner.
Exactly,
And you got to
man.
treat the Millennial Stoner with some gifts and respect, right?
I think you're the only one that's brought any of that to the show. I'm kidding.
Fat Jay had stuff
No,
last
Fat
time.
Jay always brings stuff.
Yeah.
But it's also Fat
course.
Jay because he fucking he's like Santa Claus of weed. He really is, man. Like it's always yeah, I love it. He's the best, man. So shout out Fat Jay, I love you. He's gonna be back on the show in July, so everybody tune in. It's just gonna be me and Fat Jay talking about his story from beginning to end.
That's nice. You should have him by himself, you
Yeah.
know, because I feel like that's he's a funny guy. He's a standalone guy, you know.
Dude, he's fucking hilarious.
And this couch with him and Billy Guy, or like that couch, it looked like it was crying. I mean, I was watching.
At the end of it.
I was watching. They were just falling into each other, like. Too much.
Oh my god. Oh shit. My guest today. My guest today, ladies and gentlemen, is a guy that I've gotten to know over the last year. I think I've met you and everything.
Yeah,
so.
It's been almost a year now.
You've kind of just started getting back into comedy recently too.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rob White.
Hi everybody. Hello.
Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been fun. Like I did this for a while, and
yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you.
And then I stopped,
man. Because you kind of when I met you, you had kind of started again, and I think you're fucking hilarious.
Well, thank you. Same here. Same here.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But like, when did you start? Like, really, like back then, when did you start?
No, it was the 2000s. Oh, I was in my 20s. I think it was probably around like. I wish I knew the exact date. I have to go back and figure it out. I think it was around like 2005 or so. And then I did it until I was about 30, 31. And then I was like, that's it, I'm done.
Just had enough.
I had a crazy meltdown.
Because weren't you working at like McGuires?
I was getting spots. It was getting there. I was hosting at McGuires. I had gotten some feature spots. I had gone away. I was doing the Comedy Works in Bristol, Pennsylvania. Like I'd actually gotten like shows in clubs, and none of that's happening now. Well, no, I did. I was putting in the time. I was getting out. I was getting up. I was going into the city, and then I got into this frame of mind, and I was getting so pissed off at the bookers and the clubs and just all the things that get in your head as a comic. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm done. I'm out. Yeah. And I went out in like a blaze of glory one night at McGuires Comedy Club, and I said awful, horrendous shit on stage. I was not happy. He gave me. It was basically I got. Yeah, I was helping out.
Host at McGuires?
I was hosting that night, and then they bumped me up the next two shows to the middle act, and then they gave me the host pay, and then they gave the middle act also the host pay, and I was like, oh, but you're doing, like, no, and then I said something to the effect of like, I'd rather suck Magic Johnson's AIDS-filled cock than to ever come like back here. Yeah, I don't know. Can I say that on here? That was a pretty. We'll be fine. That was pretty. That was probably a little too far.
No, Chris is going through everything. If we get flagged, I don't think AIDS. I think AIDS-filled cock has been said a couple times.
AIDS-filled cock. It's from Hostess. Try it from Drake's Cakes.
Exactly. So you did all that, and then you kind of just like walked away from it.
Yeah, and it just kind of.
So what you were, because you were like a fire captain, weren't you? Like captain?
I see. I've done everything. Like I have this weird kind of thing. I just keep doing shit and then adding more stuff on top because I need to get myself an ulcer and a brain aneurysm. So like I went and I was I've always, my entire life, I've always tattooed. I've always been a tattoo artist. That's a whole thing that we'll get into. I started as a kid. But somewhere in the 99, I joined up with the volunteer fire department. And I became, a fireman, and I got my EMT, and I was riding the ambulance, and I did that for a long period of time, and 10 years on that. And that was a whole weird place in and of itself, yeah. There's got strange shit going on.
You were a chief, though, right?
No, fire commissioner. So that's a weird one to explain, because fire commissioner is basically, it's an elected position.
Yeah.
So I did that when I left. I left the fire department. I was done for like 4 years, and then I was like, I'm gonna run for fire commissioner, which basically you're in control with the board of all the money. And it's a 6.5 at that point. It was $6.5 million budget. Jeez. So no one knows what's going on up there at all. And I'm like, I'm doing this.
I don't think I've even heard of the police commissioner in the newspaper. I don't even know.
No, I mean, well, what a fire commissioner is basically this. On Long Island, it's different than anywhere else. Long Island has fire districts. Okay. And basically what it is like that district controls that entire area, and that's the money. The money comes through taxes and everything else. Okay, yeah. And as a district commissioner, your job is to make sure that there is fire protection in that area.
Yeah.
Every single district has a volunteer fire department protecting it, but they don't have to. So, for example, you could take Selden right here, my hometown, and we could have just gotten rid of the fire department, which are all volunteers, and replaced it with paid people.
Yeah.
We could have replaced it with whatever we deemed fit for that. It's the same thing as like the school district. The school district is in charge of all the money for the school.
Yeah, my mom was a part of that, like the board or whatever.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. So like people are like, oh, you're the fire chief. I'm like, no, I don't go to the scene. I don't do any of that. Like I'm overseeing the entire district and department to make sure that things are done correctly and the money's well spent and all that sort of thing. So it was an elected position. So I literally ran for an elected office like a crazy person. And I won. And I was like, oh, look at me.
Hunter S. Thompson?
I was like Hunter, but I actually won. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, I have no idea.
Did you get to it? It's like, you won. It's like, I won. Well, what do I do now? Like,
but my brain is so like, I have so many different things going on that, like, I can do that. I can go, okay, fine. Oh, put on my suit, put on my tie, shave my beard, clean myself up, and be a politician.
To, like, acclimate into, like, you're a comedian. You were like, I'm a comedian. This is how comedians live. And then you were like, well, I'm a fire commissioner now. I got to do this now with my life. But you were always like tattooing was always. But it's funny how you amalgamate into that. Like,
it's weird. I have this weird sort of like able to do different jobs, different careers, different things that are like totally at opposite ends of the spectrum. And I go back to being like as a kid, like I lived in Selden, which is like a working class blue collar town, and my parents took me out of that school district and put me into Port Jefferson, which is a wealthier, more like everyone's got white collar jobs, everyone's a doctor, a lawyer kind of place.
Yeah.
So I would go home and hang out with my blue collar friends, playing softball in the street and Ice Cream Man and all that shit. And then I'd go to Port Jeff, and there was no Ice Cream Man. Like nobody had fist fights. It was a different. It was like living in two different
Rob
worlds.
That would go like, was there two Robs? This is something I always find this funny when somebody's you ever seen The Departed when he says, "Oh, you're going uptown to Boston, and then you're dropping your eyes down in Southie."
Yeah, I come home and I could talk about certain things, but then over back there they'd be like, "Hey, what the fuck are you talking about?" And weirdly enough, both groups gave me shit.
Yeah.
So I'd get shit for like, "Oh, you're like white trash." I'm like, I'm white trash when I was in Port Jeff, and then I would go back home to my Selden, and they'd be like, "Oh, look at you with all your bougie ass friends," and I'm like, Can I just have a normal like childhood? No, all right, fine. I'm gonna run for office, and I'm also gonna do drugs at the same time. Can we do like that's weird? Like my dad tattoos for a living, and there I am running for like student council to try to be a rebel.
Make change.
Weird. Life. I have a weird life.
But that's like really amazing to me, man. Like like. I don't know. I never did any of that shit. Like I was like when I was in school and all my stuff revolved around like I didn't like playing sports, not because I hated sports. I love sport. I like sports. I just didn't like getting yelled at by this. I hated taking orders from people.
No, it's true.
What it was. I didn't like a coach yelling at me.
I get it. I get it. I don't like authority either. I just kind of.
And I hated being a part of a team, which is the worst part.
The team part. I thought was fun.
Yeah.
But all the other part, like, oh man, we all get jerseys and we get privilege and stuff, and it's cool.
Yeah.
It's like, but do I have to like tackle somebody? Like, I don't want to tackle anybody.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't know. So that's why I started doing the plays and everything. That was my whole thing.
Yeah. So you
that
would go
was easy
theater
for me
route
because they would just tell me, like, just go up there and do whatever you want. That's what they would tell me.
in a
Right?
play.
In a play, they'd be like, take your character, go up there and play around with it. They wouldn't tell me what to do. They would be like, oh, go out there. And so I was like, oh, these guys aren't yelling at me like the other people.
Well, that'll ruin Oklahoma.
Yeah, I know. I was not good at it.
You just can't go up there and make your own song.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, it wasn't like that. But as far as like, okay, this is the character. All they told me is that you have to memorize these lines. That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
That's all they cared about. After that, they're like, do whatever you want. We have to make sure that you're up there saying the actual words.
No screen direction, so you didn't have to turn this way or that
No,
way.
they gave me that.
Just,
They're like, walk here, do this, make sure you know the lines. That's all you have to do. They said, all you have to do is remember where to go and memorize your lines. Then you figure the rest out. They would just tell me, it's like, you make a character. They wouldn't give me like deep direction. They'd be like, make a character, figure out what it is, you know?
That's like I was like the fire department.
Yeah.
Yeah, like literally when I first joined, they were just like, yeah, you just like, make it look like you know what's going on, and then eventually you will. Like, oh, really? Is that it? Like, get on the ambulance, go.
So you doing stand-up when you were doing
I did stand up for a while when I was doing that, which was kind of tough because you can't do it and be when you're a volunteer, you can kind of do it. You can do comedy when you're a volunteer.
Yeah, because you're a volunteer first, right?
But then when I was fire commissioner, I wanted to go back and do stand up, and I couldn't.
But you had stopped at this point for a while.
Yeah, I stopped.
So
that's the thing. I
started
and I stopped. Right. So I was like, I want to go up and I want to tell.
We needed context for this. So
okay, so I wanted to do stand up comedy again while I was back as an elected official, and like no one knows what the hell a fire commissioner is. No one cares. Until they get arrested, until they say something crazy, then everyone's like, oh, I can't believe you said that. So I knew if I went back up on stage and I was doing jokes and there was, that's homophobic or racist or anti-Semitic or I hit the mic, any of that, like I would get in trouble. So I invented a character. I put on a costume. I looked like a used car salesman. I went up as
Andy
Beef
Kaufman
Wellington.
thing? Yeah, Beef Wellington.
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh, you're doing like a whole like Andy
Tony
Kaufman
Clifton."
thing." And I'm like, "No, I'm. It's more like I don't know if it was like a Batman turning into Bruce Wayne, except both of them were losers. You know what I mean? It was like if Peter Parker turned into Clark Kent. You know what I mean? It was like, hey, you both kind of suck, don't you know?" And that's what I would do. And I would go up and I would do these jokes and I had fun with it. And so when I got out of office, I'm like, why do they stop doing that? Why do they ever stop doing comedy?
It's a thing that, I'd take a minute. I'll talk about it in the context of the show we did last night that turned into the greatest glorified open mic of all time.
That was a...
There's nights where I go and like to shows and like there's nobody there and I'm just like it's gonna be rough. I do it, I go up and do my shit. I look at it, I'm like, you got time, use it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if it's 5 minutes, figure some stuff out. If there's one person, try to make them laugh. I really try to get positive with that mentality.
But we had fun amongst ourselves last night at the show.
Yeah, that's
what real comedy was about. Yeah. I thought,
we were all watching each other.
Yeah.
And there was a freedom to it and everything. And I've seen people whose routines I could tell you I've memorized, but they were breathing new life into stuff because they were doing it not taking it seriously.
John Butera was just going through and doing his jokes like fast as shit.
And it was hilarious.
He was just hitting like button points, like cliff notes of his jokes, and it was funny as shit.
Yeah.
And when Billy Guyer went up and the whole audience started mimicking his
it was
joke.
Like we all did because we knew his big famous bits,
right?
So we were like, like you do need a shovel. You don't need a condom, but you do need a shovel.
And everyone would be like, you do need a shovel, like the whole
echo.
It's
like Dave's not here, man. Like it's like being at a Cheech and Chong concert,
it's a fucking rock concert.
But it fueled
him.
He's a
rock star.
And I said this, and you and I both said this. I was just like, I don't think that audience deserved that performance out of you, but you gave it to them.
That's what it was. It was like. And I think there's something for that because I was saying earlier, like the Comedy Cellar, I think in the beginning stages, and even places like the Comedy Store, a lot of these places, I think they're really good. Even like the roast of Terry McNeely was really good because we didn't give a shit about the audience. It's not that we tried to walk them or didn't care or hated them. It's so much as you know that I want to make you laugh.
Yeah.
I want to make Billy laugh. I keep hitting the mic. I'm sorry. If that echo is true. I wanted to make Alex laugh. Like I wanted to make that's what you wanted to do. And the comedians doing that, the audience just gets on board. Either that or they leave, and that's it. And that's fun.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to pander to that one person in the audience that isn't going to give a shit about you tomorrow?
Yeah.
It's more fun to make you laugh because here we are talking about last night.
Yeah. But you're right.
I don't know, thoughts.
It was just, but it was like I was sitting there and we did, and everybody did well. You know what I mean? That was the thing. I can't sit there and say that like the show wasn't great.
Well, that one guy didn't do so good.
Which guy? Oh yeah, that's right.
Just talk about someone and don't say their name.
Oh yeah.
And then they'll all be thinking like,
"Oh, do you mean
it
that?"
Was me. It was me. Or it could have been her. I don't know. There were females there too.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know, they'll hear this and
they will know.
They know they did like terrible.
I'm a jerk. I'm a jerk.
They punched the bartender. They screamed at everybody. It was bad.
Yeah, but it's a regular Saturday night in Suffolk.
But it's something like that where I walked. I just remember afterwards thinking like, it's kind of it's stupidly, and I don't mean to romanticize it, but I was like, this was worth it. It was worth it.
Oh yeah,
that's what I mean. It was worth it. I'm not romanticizing it. I'm just saying like I'm not pissed off at the end of this. That's all I can tell you.
I mean, have we really explained this enough? I don't know that they understand. It was a comedy show that had more comics than spit as I talk.
Than audience.
More comics than an audience. Yeah, exactly. And it was out of control.
Yeah.
It was the best open mic essentially that I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
I had a blast.
It's something that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
It was fun. And we're gonna keep doing shit like that.
I know.
Because this Suffolk group out here, I keep saying it, and I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on Nassau or New York City,
I love
but
Nassau
like
guys,
I feel like this little group in Suffolk here has got a lot of potential.
There is.
You know what? It's moving. It's moving fast.
I've met dudes that I think are and girls that I think are fucking hilarious.
But more dudes than girls, though.
Oh, of course. Yeah. We all know women aren't funny. I'm joking.
typing right now.
Fucking canceled. Anyway.
Comments.
No, but it's true. Like I know all these and putting the work in. That's the thing. Putting the fucking work in, and you wouldn't like. It's just you don't. I hope more people kind of like take notice of them and everything like that.
No, this is going somewhere, and if anything, I regret stopping. Yeah,
I was going to ask. That was a question I wanted to ask you. You made the decision? You went out in the blaze of glory. So when did it kick back in? Like how long afterwards were you like, it'd be great to do just like 5 minutes somewhere?
It was always there, but all right. This is a long one, but it's good.
Let's go into
this because it kind of segues really good. All right, so I was doing comedy in the early 2000s, and like I said, I've always been a tattoo artist. I've been tattooing since I'm 13 years old. My dad, my dad owns Cliff's Tattoo. I've been there since I was a kid. My wife tattoos, my uncle tattoos, my cousin's learning. Like that's always been my job, but I always did stand up on and off too. Like I do a little here, a little bit there. I did it for 5 years straight, and then I quit and quit because I had my career path, tattooing, intersected with comedy, which was sounds fun, but it wasn't a good intersection. It was like a car accident intersection. Okay,
oh, God.
And so you remember like in the earlier like 2000s, like Opie and Anthony were huge.
Yeah,
O&A was huge.
O&A.
They were the greatest, and I loved O&A because O&A was in that era. It was like what they talk about Carson, Johnny Carson being oh my God, you saw the guy on Carson? He's made it. If you saw a comedian on Opie and Anthony, and if you look back at who was on there, I mean, Louis C.K., Bill Burr,
Patrice O'Neill, all those guys.
Patrice and Bob Kelly, all these guys.
Bobby Kelly's one of my favorites.
And so I was a huge Opie and Anthony fan, right? And so every day I'd go to work. We started work at 12 at the tattoo shop. I would ride in, listening to O&A, and we got there, we'd switch over, and I'd make everyone in the shop listen to the Ron and Fez show. Which
Ron
came on after O&A. Ron and Fez.
I don't know as much Ron and Fez, but I know more O&A than Ron. But I know Ron and Fez, obviously. Yeah.
Ron and Fez were like Ron Bennington, Fez Whatley. They were the ones that came on after Opie and Anthony. And the way I always explained it was like O&A was like the hot girl in school that you wanted to date, and Ron and Fez was like her less hot sister
that you're gonna fuck anyway.
You fucked her because she tried harder. You know what I mean? Like she'd stick like her pinky in your asshole while blowing you. You know what I mean? Like she like. I don't know if I could say that. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Said it. Already happened. She tried harder. That was Ron and Fez. They were there on the network right after O&A, and they tried harder. And so every day I'd go in there and make all the guys in the tattoo shop listen every day. And we're listening one day, and they're like talking about a tattoo. Someone has to get a tattoo for some reason, and they need a tattoo. And I'm like, to the phone in a blaze of glory, like boom, on the phone. And they're like, yeah, we'll have you come in and tattoo on the air. I'm like, it's gonna be great. So I went in and I tattooed on the Ron and Fez show. I did some stupid thing. Like, I don't know, tattooed some guy's like a Yosemite Sam on his ass or something. Yeah. Like, get out of here, varmint, something like that, And it was silly. But then they invited me back for another time where I tattooed again, and back for another time and I tattooed again. Now I'm on the Ron and Fez show. Then they started inviting me back just to come in and hang out. I was in there hanging out. I was in there one day with Ron. We're smoking cigars in the room. I'm like, this is gonna be, this is my moment. Like, I can move up this ladder and I can get to the Opie and Anthony stage, and I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it. And I keep going, and I'm doing it, I'm hanging, and it's fun. And then one day I get the phone call from the producer, Earl, and he's like, Eastside Dave on the show lost a bet. He lost a bet, and he asked to get a portrait of the entire Sopranos family tattooed on his back. Carmela, AJ, Meadow, and Tony Soprano. And I'm like, I don't do portraits. Like, I don't do portraits. Should probably stop the podcast now and just it's not a plug. This is just to show that I'm not crappy.
Yeah.
Go to my Instagram.
Go to Rob's Instagram.
It's who the fuck is Rob White?
Yeah.
And look for a couple minutes. But okay, Rob does mostly traditional American style tattooing.
Go on my story. I put one of his things up. It's right under there. Click on that.
I do a traditional style tattooing. I could do a lot of things. I could do fine line, black and gray. I could do some realism. But the one thing I don't do is portraits.
Is there a reason for that? Just style-wise, or is it a choice?
Hard to tattoo a portrait. It's like it's the thing of like, if you're off just a little bit, now all of a sudden, your grandmother looks like Elvis Costello or something, and you're like, oh, that's not what I was looking for. And so I just steered clear of that. And when they're like portrait, I'm like, no. And I tried to get guys from my shop to go, and they were like, we don't give a shit, we're not going. I'm like,
seriously?
No, like nobody cared. They're like, oh, were they paying? Are they gonna pay good money? Like, no, they want you to do it for like, I'm not doing it. And I'm like, I can't do this. Yeah, and he keeps calling me. Earl is harassing me now. And he keeps doing it. And he's like, Dave doesn't even care what it looks like. He doesn't even care. Just do it. Like, I've never done one portrait. It's like, no, just do it. And then Dave calls me. I swear Dave called me. They might say I'm a liar, but Dave called and said, I don't care. It's like, you know what? Maybe I could do this. Because you ever have that voice inside your head that tells you you're not good enough?
Yeah,
well,
all the time.
This is another voice inside your head that tells you, like, yeah, you got it. Like, it's that voice when you were a kid and you made, like, like bicycle ramps, and you were going to jump over your friend Kyle, and then you got it, bro, do it. Then you jumped your friend Kyle, and you put the back tire right into his skull. And like, that voice that tells you and watches you fail, well, that was the voice. And it was like, just go and do it. So there I did. I went to the studios there, and I set up, and I'm going to do 4 portraits. I never did one before. Why not start by doing it on the radio? This is going to be great. And I sat down.
Did you go in cold? Did you sketch it beforehand?
Oh no, I was like working out in my head. I'm like, okay. You can. I think you can do this.
I was gonna say,
it's that voice.
Yeah, it's that overly because you have to amp yourself up a little bit. Plus,
I'm so excited, dude. It's your career,
big opportunity.
Man. It's the same thing. Like, nah, bro, those bumps are nothing. You don't need a condom. It's gonna be fine. I'm sure she's just got prickly heat. Like, thanks, voice in my head. I got this. And same voice. And I went in there and I sat up and I started doing the tattoo, and I was about 10 minutes into doing this tattoo, and I was eating the largest bag of shit I've ever eaten in my tattoo career. I was in it and I was like, oh, this is over. This is over. This is the worst thing I've ever done in my entire... How much longer do I have? I have to do 3 more? Cool. And I was just doing it, and I'm just...
Are you at least trying? Maybe I can save this.
I have this it's like someone has shoved an ice pop right up my ass. You know what I mean? It was like, the double one with the 2 sticks? Like, that was being put in my ass as I'm like, and I'm doing it, and I'm like, oh, God. Now, to prove how bad this tattoo is, maybe you even want to look right now just to see what this came out to look, because it's very easy to find. All you have to go and do, folks, is Google Eastside Dave's Sopranos tattoo. You probably could just put in Eastside Dave and it'll finish shitty Sopranos tattoo, because
Chris,
I've seen Google
make
do
sure
that.
we put this up. Okay.
Because I've literally had this when I did it at Comiskey Park. I told this story.
Yeah.
Someone started searching and they're like, it just auto-filled it in. That's the only thing they know about Eastside Dave is his shitty Sopranos tattoo. I did this tattoo and it was horrible, okay? I'm not a bad tattooer. I know what I'm doing.
But you have a style.
This is a story about staying in your lane, Stay in your lane, buddy. And I didn't. And I did this horrendous tattoo, and I knew it was hot shit. Do you know what I mean? Like I knew I had just eaten like the worst shit sandwich.
But it was a slow process because you it's like you watched them make like you watched a guy bend over on a sandwich and shit it because you're making a 3-hour tattoo and you're like, you're gonna eat this sandwich, but first you're gonna watch this guy take a shit over it. So you have that added thing of being like, and
I was, oh man, and when I was done, I put like the thickest coat of like bacitracin A&D ointment, just wiped it over it like a glazed donut. And then I showed it, and God bless Ron Bennington, what a man, because he knew it was hot trash. He knew, but he was like, "Oh, that's the greatest thing ever! Everybody, look at that! Hey, Fez, look at that!" And I'm just like, "Thanks, Ronnie, thank you." And I left that place like I just performed some kind of crime. You know what I mean? Like I left that place and I drove home with my girl at the time. You're looking at it right now?
Yeah, I have to say. Well, I just want to say we're gonna put it up right now.
It's pretty bad.
Oh my god! Oh, there's words underneath it.
Yeah. Then at the end they were like, "Can you add? I ordered for the table," and I just like drew it on without even using a pen. I was like, I don't even care. I already failed my dad's gonna just be disappointed in me when I get home. Anyway. I get in that car and I take the ride home with my girl at the time, and she doesn't say anything. Even she knows it's shit, and she doesn't tattoo it this time. It's not my wife right now. It was another girl, and she just doesn't say it. We just ride home, quiet, get home, and I say nothing for like hours. And then finally I'm thinking somewhere around like, 3 o'clock in the morning, like maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe it wasn't as bad as I'm thinking. I don't know. It was the radio, right? No one had recorded this or taken a photo.
I've never done portraits before. Right? So, maybe it's not as bad. I'm a good artist.
Why not do your first one?
Is that voice again?
Yeah, it's like it wasn't that bad, was it? So and this is back in the message board days. There was no Instagram.
God.
Thank God Instagram and Facebook boards didn't exist. This was literally the MySpace and then the message boards. And they had like Whack Bag and Spread the Iris. And so I went on the first one, and I started looking at the messages. The thread was the largest thread I'd ever seen, and it was started with my photo of the tattoo and me doing. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty bad." God bless them. No one remembered my name. Thank God, no one remembered
Rob
name.
White.
Nobody. But the photo was there, and the messages going down were just so bad. It was like, "Oh my God, this just looks like a Mount Rushmore of retarded people. This just looks like everyone looks like Teen Wolf. Everyone's got an underbite. They all look like Dick Tracy.
Tony
villains.
Jr. looks mad. Looks just. Oh my God.
This guy should kill himself. How is he still? I mean,
Camilla looks like she has glasses on.
It's terrible. And I read the messages and I went, okay, all right, it's gonna be okay. You know when you fuck up as a kid and you're like, if I just run and hide underneath a blanket for an hour or two, it's gonna go away? I pulled some kind of stunt like that in life. So what did I do? I stopped doing comedy. That was one thing. One of the reasons I was like, let's just not do it for a week or a month. And then we went to the shop the next day. How'd it go? It was great. Don't you dare turn on the goddamn radio, though. And then we weren't allowed to listen to Opie and Anthony or Ron and Fez or any of that stuff. And I just kind of retreated into this cocoon of embarrassment and shame. And it had been maybe a month. And I thought, I think it's over. I think the moment has passed. Let's turn on the radio. Let's turn on Opie and Anthony. We'll not even put on Ron and Fez.
You gave up. You stopped. You were like, you were so mortified by this that you were I'm not even going to listen for a month.
I don't even want to hear the next day's broadcast because I didn't want. I'm like, when's the lawsuit coming? So I sat there and I'm like, all right, let's just take this all back, and do like we're doing. And I'm in the shop it's a month later. Let's put on Opie and Anthony. And I swear to God, I can't find the actual episode, but I swear on my life, this was the episode I tuned into. It's Jim Norton, Opie and Anthony, Bob Kelly, and Patrice O'Neill, and they're all sitting around. And the topic of that episode is, how awful is Eastside Dave's tattoo? And my friends are with the shop, what? And I'm like, I got a confession to make. And I'm getting roasted by Patrice O'Neill and Bob Kelly, and I can't find it, but it was so bad. And then they brought in Kat Von D from Miami Ink just for shits and giggles to be a cherry on this
she
shitty
shit
ice cream
on your
cone.
tattoo?
No one says my name, but they just shitting on my tattoo. Dave, you should kill yourself. And I'm like, oh, so I'm like, no. And now I'm definitely not doing comedy.
I love you.
Because
you're fucking fucking sitting there after a month being like, all right, I think everything's fine.
It's not over.
What are the odds I turn this on? They're talking about me. What are the odds? That must have hurt.
You know what it's like? I'm like, wait a minute. So I thought this was going to be like one of those things like, look at me, it's going to uplift my comedy career. No, it's actually going to destroy your comedy career and possibly your tattoo business if you don't shut your face. So I'm like, okay. And now some comedians started to know about this. Not many. This one kid, I think it was Rob Ryan. I believe that was his name. I hope it was Rob Ryan. And his sister used to come into the shop all the time, and she was like, hey, I heard about your tattoo. And I was like, shut your face. And she's like, it's pretty bad. I'm like, well, how did you hear about it? It's like, oh, you know, like those things that go around. And this is not months anymore. We're going on like maybe a couple of years.
This is a couple of years later?
Yeah, like maybe 2 years later. And she'd come in from time to time. She'd be like, oh my God, did you see the new list of what? The worst tattoos in the world? I'm like, no. She's like, oh, you're like number 4. Like you're number 3. Like, oh, you're rising up the ranks. I'm like, I don't want to go up the ranks. This is not like the top 10 countdown of the worst tattoo. You could still find it on the worst tattoo list in the world.
No, I was just going to say, I looked this up. I think they did a special about it, about like world's worst tattoo profiles.
I'll get to that part too. Yeah, because it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So you just
every couple of years will just flick fucking like AMC or something like that.
The show, it's
the cover-up show?
I'm gonna say it wrong. There's a show called like Tattoo Nightmares.
I think that's what it's called, actually.
Like I'm season 1, episode 1, first person. Do you understand how this makes me feel? I want to kill myself, and he doesn't even tell the real story on there. He doesn't even tell.
Say?
He doesn't explain that it was a bet that he lost. That he was like, go and do this, dude.
Did they not introduce him as East Side? They were just like, this is just Dave.
It was like, Dave, tell them, like, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm sorry. And if you watch the episode of, he's like, people were laughing at me. This tattooer ruined my life. Yeah, you ruined mine too. At least you could put a shirt on, you know? Poor East Side Dave. I actually really liked that guy too, but I feel bad. I didn't want to do that. I just thought in my head I could do this, you know? What?
What'd you say, Chris?
Oh,
okay.
Chris is throwing up in the other room because he saw the picture finally. And it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And and now on that show, they finally cover the tattoo, and the tattooer does a Celtic piece over it. I'm like, thank God it's over. But then I found out even more information about this.
What?
Because apparently Anthony Cumia thinks that this tattoo is hilarious. I actually contacted Anthony's podcast, but they never got back to me because no one ever gets back to me. Because I was like, I'll tell this story on your podcast since you think I'm hilarious. Because every time he'd have a guest in the O&A studios since the moment I did that tattoo, he was dragging Eastside Dave out, making him take the shirt off to show them the tattoo. And he was just like every member of The Sopranos, like all the cast members that came through, all of them saw it. I was watching the one Anthony Cumia podcast, and he had I forget who it was, one of those.
Was it Christopher?
No.
Paulie Walnuts?
No, it was a big pussy.
Pussy?
No, I can't remember who it was. And he's just like, oh, it's terrible, it's awful. Like celebrities of all
have shit on your work.
And he even said on the thing, he's like, oh, it was one of my favorite things to do was to just drag out random, drag out Eastside Dave so everyone could see his awful Sopranos tattoo on
insane.
on his back. And yeah, it was awful. It just never ended. It finally
I just like how this comes back to haunt you like a fucking curse every couple of years.
And that's why I'm just sitting here and I'm going, you know what? I'm going to own up. Like, yeah, I did it. What are you going to do? You know what? I shouldn't have done it in the first place. It was a bad idea. But sometimes the little voice gets in your head. And so
that's a good story.
I apologize. It's terrible. When you know what it's like, I wanted like the notoriety, the recognition. Like I wanted Norton to know who I was, and O&A and Patrice, you know who I am. Yeah, now they do. They just don't know my name, and they know that I suck.
At least at that. That's what it is, because they're looking at, this guy sucks at tattooing, and you're like, no, you don't understand. I have a style. I do. I
was like, let me try this idea. This will be great, and I just did the gnarliest head flip right into a.
I love how 10 minutes in you were like, oh no, and you just no.
I don't know how you can even explain the level of fuck.
The level of fuck.
It's just like you're in the cold, damp rain,
and there's nothing you can do about it.
And everyone around you's just like, and you're like, no, I'm gonna die.
God.
I'm gonna die.
So you stopped doing comedy.
So that was right in that same moment in time where I had the snap fit, and I was getting disrespected. I thought, at least, at that one club in that way, and I snapped there.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go back. I'm just gonna tattoo and shut my face.
And you said you missed it.
Literally, yeah. Like because and it's not entirely because of the Sopranos tattoo, but I'll tell you what, as a good 25 to 50% of it, because you feel like, where's my upward mobility? All these comedians are like, you're that.
All these people I love and respect too, like these people that I want to be like or whatever, you know.
So there's no like happy ending in that story. I mean, I guess the tattoo got covered, and now it's gone. But I still feel like Anthony Cumia, you owe me, because you literally been laughing at my expense for all these years. I mean, I laughed a lot at your stuff too, but I didn't get 5 minutes to tell my side of the tale. You know,
I mean, it's a pretty fucking good story, man.
I didn't want to do it, but I was like,
you've just been harboring this inside of you for so long.
It was like, you bang that girl who's got the little bumps, and you're like, it's going to be okay. And then you wind up getting full-blown AIDS, and you're like, no, it wasn't okay. I shouldn't have done that.
I pump myself up beforehand. I really don't.
I ruined my life. I don't know. I wanted to tell that tale because I feel like sometimes people, they need to know about your failures to really know.
Boy, do I have a fail. I love how it kept failing. Because you'd think it would be the tattoo. Oh, that's really bad. You tune into the episode. Okay, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Because, after a year, who's going to give a shit? Like, they'll do something else stupid in there.
No, it keeps...
They did a whole... It had to get ended with a special on the season 1 of a TV show called Tattoo Nightmare.
It keeps getting worse. I feel like I saw something recently, too. It was like people in Ireland reacting to the photo of the tattoo, like on a YouTube clip or something.
It's definitely on, some sort of, list that I can, clickbait. You know it is. Like, worst tattoos ever. That's
why I say to people, I'm like, listen, I know who I am and I know who I'm not. I am not the guy that does portraits, especially of the Sopranos. And but if you want a cool, traditional eagle or an anchor, do that.
Hit up Rob White.
I do that. Yeah, I wish that had spiraled into a cooler story where it was like,
but that's still like...
Next thing you know, you're at the Comedy Cellar in the Friars Club and everyone's just doing, this is great. No.
God. I mean, but it's still like, was there at least a sense of being like something like, oh, my shit's on TV, bad shit, but was there still that sense of being like, I still did that. They brought me in on the show beforehand, before this massacre, but beforehand I was kind of their tattoo guy, like you were kind of in.
It was going well. I mean, like I said, I was in there a couple of times just hanging out. I would be on the fourth mic or third mic there, just hanging out, bullshitting on the show. I'm like,
which is what Patrice and Bill. That's what Burr did.
Well, that was on the Ron and Fez show. It was still the step. I don't want to say step down because I fucking really like Ron and Fez.
Ron and Fez, and I got to go back to this too.
But they weren't as popular as O&A.
No, and Ron Bennington particularly, he does a show now on Faction Talk on Sirius.
Genius.
And it's basically sort of like an update. He does it with his daughter.
Right. Yep.
And it's on Faction Talk, so it's amazing. It's so, and he's still got that shit from the fucking Ron and Fez days.
Yeah, he was quick.
Even though O&A I was addicted to.
Yeah.
Because they got Bill Burr and they got Patrice O'Neill on there. It's like the funniest motherfuckers I had ever heard in the fucking world. Patrice O'Neill particularly. This dude would just talk ridiculousness on there. And he would call everybody out. I remember one time he had Maron on. And Maron had just interviewed Dane Cook, and this is when all the joke stealing shit had come out about Dane and everything like that. And he just grilled fucking Mark Maron, respected comedian. Patrice just grills him about it. Like, you didn't call him out for his shit. You didn't call him out for his shit. And I'm like, oh my God, this man. And then he would come out and say something hilarious.
They were. It was such a good.
I don't think a thing like that exists
radio
anymore.
Show because of the fact that, they brought on these comics that weren't A-list.
No.
Where they were right on the cusp.
They are now.
And now they are.
Yeah.
And somebody else had a YouTube podcast recently. I want to say Don Sill? Does that sound right?
I think so.
He did something and I watched it. And it was all basically on the comics that came out of Opie and Anthony. And you're like, that was my era's Carson. Oh, you did Opie and Anthony? Congratulations. Welcome to the club. Dice Clay came back. All these guys came back.
That was that like in the 80s, late 80s. Yeah, O&A brought Dice back, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like, in like, what was it that was the Rodney tape, I call it, where it's like fucking, it's like Saget, it's fucking Kinnison, it's Dice, and that's what that was for, because you talk about Bill Burr now, and Bill Burr to me is like one of the funniest motherfuckers in the world, and he would just come on fucking. They would just go. Who did they bring on to pick fights with all the time? Was it just Patrice? Him and Patrice would just pick fights with each other?
He would just be such a. Was it Rich Voss, maybe?
Voss. Yeah. Oh, God.
I feel like Voss was in another one of those things, picking on me things. But,
Probably is Voss.
what a great, like, and every like a generation of comics has this little hub area where it's like that's where it's coming from. It was, I forget what Rodney's thing was called. Was it the new?
It was like new. It wasn't New Faces. It was like Young Comics or something like that.
He had that one episode where it was like Roseanne and Seinfeld and Sam Kinison and I think Bob Nelson was on.
Bob Nelson was on there.
People.
I think Bob Nelson followed Kinnison.
And they just. And then you look at other time, you're like, oh, the Comedy Cellar. The Comedy Cellar's era was probably somewhere around or a little after that Opie and Anthony thing. The Comedy Store had its little renaissance.
The Cellar's era was that, because those guys, I always felt like that's the reason why the Cellar's so revered, because not that no one gave a shit, but it was like, there's not really a whole lot coming out in the 90s. It was Seinfeld, but like not really. And then all of a sudden you get the O&A guys in like the 2000s era, really. Like you got Louis C.K. and you got Bill Burr and you got Patrice O'Neal. And those guys, they were all in the Cellar at the time. And like the Boston Comedy Club, which I don't think is there anymore.
Right, no, that's
I think
gone
that's
now.
But Bobby Kelly and them, those were the guys.
That Cellar was so killer because of the fact that like it was. And that's why I'll go back to what's going on out here in Suffolk. I mean, don't get me wrong, a little bit of a different thing. But when you see that, it was all those guys down at the Cellar just cracking each other up, having fun.
So that's really
that
all
was
I
their
wanted to do.
practice room for a lot of the time. Like, hey, what are you doing? I got to do SNL, and I'm over here doing Letterman. Oh, okay, cool. So you're in for the weekend? Yeah. Let me do a couple of practice sets and hang out. And Dave Attell is hanging out with them, and they're joking around, and they're having a good time because they want to make each other laugh.
Which is really all I really want. Like Bobby Kelly said this, and to me, it's just anybody who wants to be a comedian, the reason why they want to is to bullshit, and they can just show up. That's it. And I'm like, that's not far off from what I mean. Like, don't get me wrong. There's like I enjoy like writing and the performing aspect too, but there's also like I don't want to set up lights. Like, you know what I mean?
You're ready to go.
Give him the microphone.
What do I need? I need a change of underoos, and I'm good. I'm going over to Indianapolis. What?
Yeah, it's really.
And you're gonna make money? Yeah, I'm gonna make money with this. Yeah. People want to hear this, go to that, and then done.
Maybe that works, and if they like it, they give me this.
Your voice.
Like, I don't know if there's any. Is there any hub like that now?
For comedy?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's probably. I think there's lots of little ones all over the place.
Everything's
like you
think
about
off.
Like the 80s had the Boston comedy scene in Boston.
Yeah,
with guys like Barry Crimmins and the Ding Ho and Lenny Clark. Like I watch and research so much on comedy because I really love it.
I'm a nerd about it.
And his little spots all over the place and I see what's going on out here in Suffolk and I'm like, man, this is. No, not hitting up on the Nassau guys or anything like that. I just think it's like the New York City.
There's nothing. You know what? There's nothing. What's it say about the New York City thing? I'm sorry, Rob.
No. I'm just saying, like New York City gets all this credit for being like the comedy.
Started there, but
I'm like, they don't have to work as hard. I'm saying in New York City, you don't have to work as hard. Like, yeah, I know you're writing jokes and I know you're talented and all that. I'm not saying that, but it's like, what do? You take a subway 4 or 5 blocks over and you can do a comedy set. Like, you have to drive from halfway up the island just to come down here and do this. Because you want it more.
I really do.
You want it. I'm going to say it. Suffolk comedians want it more than most of the comedians in the New York City and closer to that area.
It was also it's such a in my opinion, it's in the Suffolk area. It's such a scrap. If you live in Manhattan or even the boroughs, you can go anywhere on any night of the. And not that saying you can't go to a mic anytime, but you can probably, if you've been doing comedy for a while, you can probably find a show, do a guest spot if you know the person working there anywhere in any of the boroughs in Manhattan. And if you can't find time, you can find a mic. It's the city. Suffolk's and particularly Suffolk is a little different just because it's like a handful of places. And if you don't get there on time, you don't get a spot. or there's nobody there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you're like, all right, I guess I'll try maybe tomorrow night at this one place. And then you might show up there. And this has happened to me a few times where you show up and, like, you know, you don't know because you maybe don't know the person running the mic and it's just shut. And you just stand there, you thumb up your ass and you want to do comedy. And you're like, well, what do I do? And you're like, should I find another mic? But you're so fucking depressed and you hate yourself. You go to a bar, have 3 drinks, and then you drive home. And you're like, why do I do this? But it's because I've had, I always like to talk about, like, bad sets and everything like that. And, like, because those are the ones I think I learned the most from. I've just gone out there and just sucked ass on certain times.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, that was terrible. And that would crush, I think that would crush most people. But what I really like about comedy is that it doesn't. Any of us.
No.
At least the guys that want to do it.
Well, and if it does crush you, good, because then you're gone. It cleared the,
There's a lot. I don't know. There's a lot of people. I get a lot of. When I started doing this, I had a lot of my friends, or like not so much friends, but like people come up to me, they'd be like, I've got jokes. I want to try this.
Yeah, go try it.
That's what I always tell people.
See how much fun that isn't.
I said, go do it. I always tell them, like, it's so easy to start doing this.
Yeah.
It is so ridiculously easy. I've said this 1,000 times on this show. I will say it again so everybody hears this. If you would like to start doing this, there are mics everywhere. It is so easy to start. To keep doing it, that is a different story.
Well, because there's no, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, there's no guide for this.
Imagine if any other job was like that. Like, well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to be an astronaut. Okay, cool, because we have an open mic night at Cape Canaveral. You just show up,
you show off your rocket ship.
Bring your astronaut suit that you made at home, and we'll see how you do. If you do good, maybe we'll get you on the Bringer show where you got to bring
Keep hanging around. Keep hanging around. Keep hanging around.
And then you're just like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
How do I get to... There's no other occupation.
No.
I mean, musician is like that too. An actor is like that too. But the difference on those that I always say is, like, an actor, they're doing a play that's already been written. You know what I mean? You're doing some,
I'll tell you exactly what the
some
difference
Tennessee Williams bullshit from back in the day. But you have to make it your own. But you get to be that character.
Yeah, but there's a safety net. There's a safety net. That's what I would say. There's something where you can, even if you can't come up with, if you're doing something written by like a playwright worth half a fuck.
Yeah.
You don't, like, not that you shouldn't put all you into it, but if you can't figure anything out, if you're dull and you're like, I can't figure out what to do original, you can fall back in the dialogue. The dialogue has proven to work. It's worked since the 1960s. People are going to be here. It's almost has its built-in audience. Don't worry about it.
Right. It's its own thing. And you know what? If you suck, it's not entirely you. Well, the play kind of sucked. My supporting actor sucked. Okay, fine. Yeah. Same thing with the band. Oh my God. Well, you know what? I didn't have a good night.
Point at. And there usually are. To be honest with you,
high on crystal meth. Well, of course, that's going to happen sometimes.
Sometimes that makes them better.
But you guys can all cry together in a Waffle House afterwards, and everything's going to be fine.
Nobody drinks anymore.
When you suck a bag of dicks on stage, that's it. You leave, and it's like
just you.
Everything that you did was you.
You, yeah.
Like, I thought it was funny to make jokes about, well, that's not funny, and you're a failure to your father, and then you just got to go home and just cry in a shower, and hopefully you wake up the next day and you do something, push yourself back again.
I think it's probably like an addict mentality, but it really is this. A couple weeks ago, I was just not. I had a couple bad sets. It was just not going well. I was depressed, and I was on the phone with Chris. I was trying to organize the week. I was going away to host for Terry on the road.
Right.
For like 2 days, Terry McNeely, and I was just not. Just had a couple bad. Like, I had like a bad set. It was not going well in my head. And then I was rattling off all this stuff to Chris. I was like, all right, we got you got the Mike Fails episode coming up this week, and then. Chris, none of this matters. I quit. Like, I just quit. And then I would just go back and do it, and I'd be like, all right, I'm going to be back on Sunday, but none of this matters. This is my farewell tour because I fucking quit. Like, and then I wake up, I go on the road, and immediately I'm just like doing shows with like Billy and Jay and Terry, and I'm like, oh, I fucking love this. Is better than every drug I've ever taken combined, shoved up my ass.
It is a drug.
And like, it's great. And you have to be crazy to keep coming back to it. A little bit.
And that's the reason I think that most or a good deal of comedians have addiction and drug issues, alcohol issues.
I do too.
Because of the fact that, like, what it is, what do we do? Okay, we're going to go to some random bar and do comedy, and you're going to do terrible, and then what? Then you want to go drown yourself in misery. Or, worse than that, you do amazing.
Yeah, and then
now
you're all jacked up after the set.
It's 11:30 at night, midnight last night.
You're not going to bed.
And I'm like, oh, you know what we should do now? We should go home and go to sleep. Like,
no.
Really? Instead of fucking doing lines of cocaine cocaine and drinking Heinekens all night long. Wow, you know what? I don't do cocaine, but I'm just saying.
Anymore.
Like,
No.
I'm just saying, like, that's why it's like that.
It's first of all, the hang. The hang's like half the fucking. If I always tell people, it's like, what is it? People are like, what does it take to be a comedian? I'm like, I don't know. Can you, hang around? Can you just like go to a spot, like lean on a wall, and then maybe talk to like 5 or 6 people throughout the day? Because that's what it really is. I go to Governor's and I stand there. Yeah. And that's cool. And I'm really not complaining because that's part of it. I end up meeting people, you talk, all of a sudden you're in a fucking, K-hole of a fucking conversation with 8 people, and then you're like, oh, I can't wait to come back next week and do this. And you're like, I didn't do anything tonight, but you did.
No, but you did, but you networked. And that was like, I got a lot of flack for saying on one of the on the Long Island comedy scene page about people that just show up to open mics and leave as soon as they're done, or leave crazy early. You got to stick around for a couple of comics. Why? Because you need to be part of the community, and you know what? When you stick around, like you learn a little bit of something, and then you're like, oh man, you know what, dude? I do a show over at the brewery, and oh man, I do a show over at so and so's. Cool. Yeah. Now you're part of the crew, and we're all trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's what I don't understand. Like, I've never understood, because I think it's also like a cliquey thing. But like, I don't know, like I've been to mics and I've always, because there's no manual for this, but I do know that if I go to these things and I hang around, and if I do moderately well, or if I just go up there, somebody will probably come up to me afterwards, offer me a cigarette, or say, hey, you want to smoke some weed or something like that. And then I end up in a conversation, and then they invite me to, I do a mic over here, and then you know somebody else, and everybody's like, but how does that really help you in the long run? And I'm like, it all stacks up, I'm learning. Because the reason why I know this person is because I gave this guy a cigarette outside of a fucking bar that we were doing a show in out in fucking Bellmore or some shit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Everybody knows everybody, and then you get to, I don't want to hang out with people I don't like.
Is that the worst?
What am I doing here right now? I'm hanging out because we enjoy, we get along. That's what we do. Why do we get along? Not because you saw my set and you wanted to sit here and talk about Dr. Pepper or whatever. Like that's, I was saying earlier, the Comics Unleashed show.
Oh my
God. That's the biggest steaming nugget of shit. So bad. It's so set up and
where's
phony.
That again?
Was this a Byron Allen? It would be like, so Joe, I heard you have a particular beer that you like drinking. You know,
my God. Yeah, Unleashed.
Particular beer commercial, and then you're like, actually, and you go into that
do the set?
Yeah, I was saying that earlier, but they do, and then they do their bit, and they go on. I'm like, that's boring. Like, we all talk to each other to have fun.
I know.
That's supposed to be.
I just wanted to go back to the point. It's like the etiquette, or not etiquette, but like, is there still things that you kind of hang your hat on? Is there like, you know what I mean? Like Louis C.K. decided, like after he saw like the George Carlin thing, he was like, I'm going to write a new material every year. He was going to adapt that. Is there like anything that you, because like your shit's very unique to you, man. Like it is purely Rob White.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I try to.
Like there's a little, I think we all, emulate comedians in little ways, especially, but like you really do come across as like, this is this guy.
It's hard because you're trying to be original, but sometimes when you try to be original, you wind up being less original. Because now you're a character of yourself or a character, and you don't want to be like, the best thing to do is just to really be yourself, and hopefully yourself is cool enough that it works and people actually want to listen to you and all. And I don't know, but I write a lot.
I do too.
But I throw away so much, or I put it and I go, I'm not doing that. Because like one-liners, I write one-liners and like quick setup jokes, and I find like they're funny to me, but it's not me. You know, I'll write a joke and I'm like, that's not me. You know what I mean? That's someone else's joke, and I should give it to them. And then you don't want to give anybody a joke because that always feels like, oh, cool, my act's not good. Thanks for that joke.
I remember I wrote a punchline that somebody wanted to buy from me.
Really?
I was like a year and a half in, like 2 years in. And somebody wanted, it was a comedian, one known around here, and I think I was doing a writing thing, and he was there, and I had the punchline, and it was about basically gender reveal parties, where I was like, it's just a party for fucking. Like, we fucked, great. And then it's just I have this idea in my head of being like the guy going up to the parents, like, we just fucked. Can we have a party? And that was a punchline. And he was like, I'll give you $50 for it. And I remember thinking, I'm like, oh no, I have gold here. You can't have this.
That's weird.
I remember,
buy jokes.
But that's, you know what's weird? I remember watching like a documentary. There's some fucking show I remember that was on Showtime that I watched based on this book called I'm Dying Up Here, which was basically all about the story of the Comedy Store in Mitzi Shore.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, the shows, they couldn't get the rights to any of the real people, so they kind of just did a fictionalized version of it.
Right.
But the book is really good. It's about like Leno and all those guys in that era, like all starving to death together. And then like, you know, the Pryor and all that stuff. But in the book, they reference like a couple more famous guys that worked like Vegas at the time. They would come in, they would work out some stuff and everything, and they would go and do they like that at the time. If you got like some sort of what do they call them when you do like shows in Vegas or like that's residency. Thank you. They do like residency in Vegas where they come and work out stuff. They would buy jokes from the younger comics. They would be like $50.
Just seems like
there's a really long explanation to say that.
It's cool, but at the same time, I'm just like, why would you want to buy a joke from somebody? Help me out. You know, give me 5 minutes and a guest spot on your set. I'll take a guest spot on
people
rather than anything else.
This is funny. There's people, since I started, there's people that I'm pretty sure has quit comedy that owe me guest spots still. I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm like, there's at least like I know there's a handful of shows I did in the city where the person running it was like the tape ran out and they didn't record my set all the way through or something like that. And they're like, I owe you a guest spot. It was like 3 years ago, and I'm just like,
oh, you don't take it up on that?
No, I did take them up on it. And they're like, oh, you know, I've got some shows coming up. I'm going to throw you some dates, and then just never happened. I saw like one person's like, I moved to Vegas. And I'm like, so no guest spots, basically. Is what I'm
you piece of shit.
But that's what happens.
I feel like
I've been like screwed over a few times. It's fun.
No, it happens. I've gotten a few. But I just,
you told a whole story about
now we don't, I just, but I almost feel like it's not going to be worse than that. You know what I mean? Can't get worse than that.
Well, I mean, I think that none of those same guys run McGuires anymore, so.
No, well, yeah. I mean, but just in life in general, like, I feel like once you have, like, you know, once you reach, like, the nothing's going to get worse than that Sopranos portrait. So,
that's probably true, actually.
Yeah.
Like
I was an EMT for years, and, you know, I get all nervous and stuff, and you know, the one paramedic was like, hey, what's the worst that can happen? They die? And I'm like, yeah, I got news for you. They were dying anyway. We're all dying. I was like, oh, I guess that's a good point.
Nihilistic
He's like,
way,
you know, hey, as long as you don't bring them in dead, you're doing pretty damn good. It's like,
but there's some honest truth to that. It's like,
so it's a weird world. Yeah.
It is a weird world, and that's why you do comedy too.
Right.
It's why you do comedy.
We have mental illness. Like, this is, you can't shut it off.
No,
you can't shut it off.
I'm realizing that I have to learn how I talk to you is probably not how I should talk to most people. And I don't mean that from like an offensive way or anything like that. No. I just mean like when I'm with other comedians, I get to like crack jokes. We're all cracking jokes at each other. Yeah. I do that around other people. It gets fucking annoying real quick.
Oh no, I do it all the time. Everybody at the shop that I work, my tattoo shop, they're like, just shut your face. Stop talking to people. Like, stop it. I'm like, no, I can't help it. Yeah. Like, there's a thing in my brain, and it's going at 100 miles an hour, and I'm just trying to figure it out, tell you things, speak it out. And I can't help it.
Me too. I do it with I do it with I have people at work. I sell like sheds and everything that come from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And I have people that come in all the time. And I'll if I crack a joke, like I'll say some, and I'll say some outlandish shit just because I think it made them laugh. Like somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, does Ralph still work here?" And I was just like, "Oh, Ralph's passed on." I know it's so bad.
I've been there too.
And then he goes, "Oh my God, really?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just kidding, man. I'm sorry." He goes, "Ralph was a good friend of mine." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm sorry. That was a joke. I'm sorry."
Oh. I always just go.
Does that make me a bad person? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's funny you went straight to death, because usually when someone's like, "Hey, is Carly here?" I'm like, "Oh, dude, you didn't hear what happened?" And then it gives me a few seconds to think up some kind of story, and usually it's like, "Nah, she was involved in like, you know, the whole crystal meth fucking."
Oh, I've said stuff like
arrests, that. You know what I mean? Like, just
when I was a bartender. When I was a bartender, there'd always be like. I was at the most local bar in Sag Harbor. We'd always have rotating. There was always that one. Everybody has every bar has like their main bartenders and that one rotating spot. That's a new guy, new girl every 6 months. So it was the same thing. I used to just tell people that some girl would like work there for like 3 weeks, then she'd leave or something like that.
Yeah.
And the people would come in and they'd be like, "Oh, where's Heather?" And I'm like, "Heather? Oh man, got real into Cirque du Soleil. What? Yeah. Moved out to Vegas. And then I just go on for 10 minutes. And sometimes I'm like, let's see how long this lasts to these people. They'll be like, you must be really proud of fucking the Cirque du Soleil shit. Told somebody they joined the police force. Another it's just, I just get bored. And that's my problem. I start, and it is fun. I don't mean it maliciously. Because I'll go up to them and be like, dude, I'm just fucking around, man. I'm just having some fun.
This whole thing is stupid.
Exactly.
That's why people get mad about stuff. We get frustrated. Spoiler alert, we're all going to die. We're all going to die. We don't even know why we're here.
Yeah.
Stop getting upset and offended. Who cares?
And that's what I keep going back to, where I'm just like I'm like, there's like a 50-50 chance I'll see 75. No. So it's like, and I don't mean that if I have health issues. I mean like I could get I mean like I could get like hit by a bus. You know what I mean? Like I could walk off the curb and like being careful, and all of a sudden like the brakes go out and I'm hit by a bus. Randomly. And then I'm just like, so like fuck it. I'm gonna enjoy myself, try to make people laugh.
No, absolutely. Because nobody knows what the frig we're doing here.
No.
I don't know what we're doing here. People ask me all the time, well, you dressed like a captain. You're a captain? Like, no.
Yeah.
What the fuck I'm doing?
I'm trying to make the most of whatever the fuck this is.
Woke up this morning just like everybody else, and I was just like, oh, why am I alive? No! Right? So you wake up like, I wake up like,
do you ever just wake up and
anger?
I was trying to do a bit about this at one point. I'm like, you ever just wake up and sigh? Ugh.
Oh, it's
like you look around, you're like, oh, what? Oh God. And you're just like everything hurts. I don't know why everything hurts.
I was saying that too.
That happened when I turned 30.
You wake up and it physically hurts and it mentally hurts, and it's like, if this life that we live is so fucking amazing, why do I wake up in the morning and immediately my first reaction is to go back to bed? Just there's a snooze button because this place sucks so bad that we're like, I would rather go back to hibernation mode. Please, hibernation. Nothing is as good as that. And you hit the button 100 times and you finally get up out of bed and you got to go to some shitty ass.
Yeah. No, I remember when I was working, like when I stopped acting, and I was like, I kind of the same thing almost to you. I fucking like was like
a Sopranos portrait.
No. It was a Weeds portrait. It was Weeds.
Weeds?
It was a picture of fucking Mary Louise Parker smoking a joint.
People watched that? What was that?
I know a lot of liberals.
Oh my God.
What was I saying? I stopped acting. I got kind of the same thing. I got very annoyed with it. I didn't want to do it anymore. I was like, and I was kind of the same way. Like it was working.
But are you happy that you don't do that anymore?
I
feel like you're not an actor.
I don't.
Not in a bad way. I feel like your personality is stronger than to be someone else.
Thank you. I loved doing acting. I like doing it. I did mainly live theater.
Right.
And even with film, and I love film, but I've always enjoyed the process of making film more than actually perform, because you're just a fucking prop if you're going to be an actor in a movie. That's your prop. That's it. You're not anything else.
Yeah, it's like you're what sells.
Yeah.
Not just the fact that you're playing, whatever.
Exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've done a few indie films and everything, but like I miss is the little things. You know what I mean? Like I miss doing a show, but like not, rehearsal is great, but it's always a headache. Opening night's always fun. I miss that feeling. I miss doing that. Yeah. But like as far as when I started doing comedy was something that I was just afraid of, because to me, kind of to back up your point, those were the greatest, because I fucking love George Carlin, all like Richard Pryor I was listening to, like these guys that would go on of this, and it was just them, and they were just this shit that it was made up. I remember when I saw David Tell and his fucking crazy shit, I was like, this is the greatest performer I've ever seen. He's talking really about shoving cucumbers up his ass. This is hilarious and amazing. Yeah. But it's true. I was like, I could never do that. I looked at it like this thing that I was like, I can't do that because it takes a lot to write all that, and I'm but a humble actor. You know what I mean?
No, of course.
And then
my friend
Mike Fails pushed me into it.
Right.
And I would write jokes.
Mike's hysterical.
Yeah, fucking Mike. Mike's an actor. Mike's a born performer.
Yeah, he is.
I mean that. He's got this thing where it's just. He's got it. Other people, I don't have that shit. I don't know, but he's got this thing. It's a different level of performing than other people have. It's just this natural charisma. But yeah, I stopped doing it, and then when he pushed me into it, I was so scared because he wanted to do good, but I hadn't performed or done anything in like 3 years at that point. I tried to get a job as a maintenance guy at a fucking tennis club. I got fired from that.
Why did you try to get that job, though?
I did. I got the job. Somebody suggested it.
Why?
Because it was like benefits, and there was like, this seems like adult stuff. You know what I mean?
You try to do adult. Yeah.
I tried, and then I got a job. Check this shit out. Then I got a job installing awnings after that.
Like sunset awnings? Like those?
Yeah, and it was the worst job. You want to know the worst job ever? It's not fucking sewage. I gladly take sewage, okay? Right. It's fucking installing awnings.
Awnings.
Yeah, I worked for a dude who was an engineer, and it was like, it was one of those jobs where it's like, we're a family. And I'm like, no, we're not.
No.
I hate that. I'm sorry.
I don't want to be, family. That's why my tattoo shop, like, we're there with each other all the time. We're like a family sometimes, somewhat, but more like a pirate crew on a ship. I mean, I guess that's what this captain thing is. Because it's like,
but this was like, we're a family.
I want to stab you once in a while. That's the thing, you know what I mean? Like, we're all cool, but you fucking touch my lunch one more time, I'm going to stab you in the face with this butter knife, you know?
No, this was more, it was weird. And it was like, you had to wake up at like 5 in the morning. Nothing ever got done. And then, like, they made us, I remember this, we worked late because they said we have to get all these things done because there was lack of communication between the second in command and the first command. And we worked late. We weren't supposed to work late, but he made us finish the entire booklet of stuff. We got off work at 8 in the morning, and we get back to the shop, and I'm like, this is the worst day of my life. I have to come back here tomorrow at fucking 6 a.m. I'm like, can I get arsenic this late at night? Does anybody have arsenic? I mean, what if I just did that? Like,
just chew on that.
Yeah, what if I just ruin you? I don't want to swallow bleach and make me puke first when I get down to my shirt. But like, I just remember I walked in there and they were mad at us. They were mad. It's like, why are you guys working so late? And then I was like, what the fuck? I don't understand this. And I didn't understand it. I remember 3 months after I got there, right before the summer started, I walked into the office after a bad day because they were like, we're gonna have a meeting, and I said, we are. And I was rough, dude. I was like laughing, screaming, and crying at the same time. This was a mental breakdown.
Oh yeah.
I hated this job. I was puking in the parking lot beforehand because I just didn't want to be there.
That's like my hangover you just described.
And like
laughing,
I was just
crying.
like. And I remember at the end of it, I had this whole rant, but I remember at the end of it, I go, you have 3 choices. And I have tears going down my face, and I'm screaming. I say, you have 3 choices. I finish the day, and I go home, and you never see me again. I go home right now, or I give you 2 weeks.
They give you right then.
And they go, you can go home now. I said, cool. And they actually gave me that week pay.
Wow.
Yeah, because they felt bad. Because I hated it. Wow. I just hated it. I wasn't good at it. I'm not like, I was not good at it.
I know. That's when you're not good at something and you,
And that was that mental.
At least you know it, though. Some people have no idea that they're not good at things, and then they just,
But that's what it is. And I was just like, I could probably, because this is what they said. He's like, maybe you come in early, which means I had to come in at 5. And like, we can go over everything with you. And I said,
ungodly hours.
What is this? And then I would ask for days off, and he was one of those bosses that would be like, oh, what is that? You don't want to work? And I'm like, no.
Nobody wants to do this.
Why do you think I want to be here?
No.
You know, he's like one of those guys that really took pride in the shade. Look at that. Look at what we just did. And I'm like,
I mean, I guess.
I said, what do you mean? We worked past lunch and I shit myself. Like, what are you talking
look
about?
At this. Like, I don't know. I don't know how people can work at jobs.
Listen, I'm not demeaning.
No, but like, there are some people that are literally love to make a sandwich, and they're people that makes, and you go, wow.
I'm making the people happy.
But there are a lot of people out there that are like, what do you do for a living? And it's just like, I hate myself. Like, wow, it's awesome, and they work at some postal job or something. I mean, hey, if you like that.
I don't think I've ever met a happy postal worker.
Some people are like, this is, I'm cool with someone telling me to put the uniform on. I go to the thing, they're like military kind of guys.
That's true. There are some people that are like, I like
fine,
regiment.
Good for you.
Yeah, but
like, I don't know. I don't even. I'm one
I feel
of those
like
people
I depressed
that
you, Rob. I'm sorry.
Nah, I don't know. I don't know how to do it. Like, I can't.
No, I don't. I tried real hard. I remember talking to my sister because my sister got like the college degree and got the real job and everything, and it was just like I was just like, I guess I'm just a fucking entertainer,
Yeah, but that's even. But it's a brain set too.
But I'm the older one
because I feel like when you do comedy, you have you're more on the artistic.
Oh yeah, it's an art form.
I don't know what you want to call that. Is that a spectrum?
No, it's just I think it's not.
You're creative. You're a creative.
You
process.
have to be creative.
So you've done acting and you're doing comedy. And do you play an instrument?
I know a little bit. Drums.
Do you write or anything?
Yeah, I write.
So yeah, and we've had this conversation in the bar where
art.
Everybody that does comedy has at least 2 or 3 other things that they're doing. Creative wise, oh yeah, no, I do. I write poetry. Oh, actually, I paint. I draw. Yeah, because we're on that spectrum of things. But if you ask me to like do other stuff, like do math and do finances.
I'm bad at math.
I don't know how people do that.
No.
I mean, I can organize and I can delegate and I can do certain stuff in that whole thing. Because
that's all talking to people.
I did that politics thing, but I don't want to
But
do
Rob,
math.
that's all talking to people.
That's true.
Here's the thing. That's why
social,
you do what you do, and I
yeah.
like as a regular job because like I can talk to people. I can.
Yeah.
You want to buy something? Fine. I'll talk to somebody I know. Give me 5 bullet points to hit. I'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like it's all based on that's how we survive.
It's not really,
as soon as you have to put us in a job where we have to do something that's like requires intense, concentration or some shit like that, or like real like hands-on math. Like fucking, it's just not gonna work. Thank God I had a fucking register when I was in retail when I was a kid, or else I would have been fucked. I was never good at math. I failed math twice in high school. I didn't take it.
No, I was so bad at math that like I remember the one time I was like put into a math class and they're like, "That's not even a math teacher, dude." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, "No, that guy's the soccer teacher. He's the soccer coach." I'm like, "He doesn't do anything else. Like, he coaches soccer and apparently he does your math class." And I'm like, "I think I might be in special ed right now. I think I might be special ed."
There's only 4 of us in here, and one of them's wearing a helmet.
My classroom is down by the boiler. Does anybody know why I'm down by the boiler room? Why am I down there?
They wonder when we all grew up fucked up. It's like, where's your classroom? Oh, you know where all your friends are? Where they can like run around and there's like toys and you can put your shoes in a little colorful cubby? Nah, that's not for you. Here's a small room with an angry lady with glasses.
Oh, yeah, why do they always have the glasses?
Yeah, who's going to teach you math at a slow level?
They always change the name. It's the resource room.
I got resource. Remedial math, that was one. I'm trying to remember other weird names they would throw it.
They would just throw it. You're in the alternate primary class. Like, alternate primary? What does it even mean? Like, I don't know. Alternate. Yeah, so, I don't know.
But
I graduated.
I did too.
That's all that matters. You just got to graduate, you know?
It's like, because like it doesn't matter, but at the same time, especially because what I'm doing now, and I'm like, I don't really need math for this, and people are like, that's not true, and I'm like, I can get around it.
You do, but you don't, but you do.
Yeah, I gotta, at this point, I'm not doing any long division for anything.
Yeah, you just want to go over your time. That's it.
Exactly.
So
all I gotta know
how much is 15 minutes.
That's how a clock works.
It's cool. That's 20. It's 15.
Oh my God. All right.
Oh, you're checking the time too now.
Yeah. No, I gotta wrap up. Rob.
It's been fun.
It's been fun. I gotta have you back on. I didn't even get to the. I had like weird questions.
You had all these like questions and stuff.
Well, this is what happens when I run out of stuff. I like to have go.
Yeah, like all the notes out, like a Chris Hansen, like
Oh yeah.
Like,
did you say this to?
So you came here for sex? And I'm like, no.
It says here you came here. It says here your pants are bulging with glee.
Glee? Is that what they call it? Glee?
I'm trying to see what I wrote down. Oh wait, I wrote this. My first question I wanted to ask you was like, before I go, we'll do this. Did 80s comedy suck? Actually.
Wow. Do you think I'm that old?
No, I'm just saying from a perspective from someone who likes comedy.
80s comedy?
Do you think 80s comedy, looking back on it, actually sucks? Because I've watched a few things from people, and I'm like, some of this is bad.
It was a little too overexposed. Everyone said there was comics everywhere.
Yeah, okay.
But I liked some of the cheesy 80s comics. Like,
I do too.
Dude, I was a huge fan, still am, of Gallagher. Remember Smashing the Watermelons?
Yeah, of course.
That's not smart comedy. It's not for the smart people.
It's not Bill Hicks fucking.
Right, but at the same time, you're like, so yeah, you had the whole, like, cut it out kind of Dave Coulier 80s comedy, but you also had, Bill Hicks and Kinison and Carlin and,
all those guys, God.
Yeah.
I'm going to have you back on, and we'll go through the history from the 60s till now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just going to write bullet points out.
Lenny Bruce all the way through to...
I was going to talk about the George Carlin documentary. I didn't get a chance. I didn't get to finish it, but I did watch the first half. It's amazing. I'm going to have you back on. We'll talk about it.
Solid, yeah.
I heard it was solid, yeah.
It's good stuff. So, we'll definitely do this again.
We'll do this again, sir. I want to plug your friend's thing again, too, real quick.
It's the Green Hand VIP service on Instagram.
Green Hand VIP service on Instagram. Check them out. I'm going to sample some of this stuff. Seems real cool. Friends of Rob, and, like and share and check it out. All right, guys? Rob, dude, thank you so much for coming in, man.
Thank you.
Oh, shit, Rob. I love you to death. We have a show to do tonight at a brewery. Should be fun.
Right? Yeah, I got to go do that, and then I'm going to run to Red Zone, too. I'm trying to double dip.
What are you doing at Who's doing it? Who's headlining at Red Zone tonight?
I don't know. Maybe John headlining it? John Butera? Yo, remember when John Butera was on this?
No.
Yeah, no, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't remember
that.
He hasn't
been on here because I haven't asked him.
So I'm busting your balls. Hi, John.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think Butera is doing the one of the two.
Okay, because I know he's got a couple of roasts down there coming up.
He's everywhere.
I know. John Butera. He's the man of Suffolk County.
I got to do that. So we're doing Bellmore Brewery. Then we're doing
do you want to do reads?
And then I was talking about
Rob's
tonight.
got reads.
Well, saying tonight's funny because this thing's gonna come out on.
Well, don't worry about tonight's show because you're not gonna be able to go to
tonight.
it.
Tonight is not, but All right, so this is what I got going on, folks. June 9th at Stereo Garden in Pathogue, which
I'll be on that show.
You're on that too. Yes, you are. June 11th is Club 121 in Amityville. That's a new one. I've never done that one before.
Yep.
June 18th is Red Zone in West Babylon. And then June 24th is McGuires in Bohemia.
I thought I was on that show, but I don't think I am.
Why?
That's John's birthday show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you know.
No, I thought I got my dates mixed up.
Oh. I was going to say, you could bring John on the thing here, maybe.
I can't. No, I am going to bring him on here. I'm just trying to find my dates.
Sorry,
I'm trying to find my dates.
Busting your chops.
My next show, my next show is tonight, but that's besides the point. Friday, June 3rd. It's a Comedy Done Wrong free comedy night. You don't have to pay anything. It's at Vintage Bar, which is in Montauk, New York. A lot of great comedians on this tonight. Chris Capel, Jack Adam, Devin Bramble. One of my favorites, Tom Crescenzo. Jeff Bosey's going to be on it. And your headliner is going to be Kyle Mara. I think Pat is hosting this tonight at that one. So that's 8 p.m. show, 7 p.m. doors, Friday, June 3rd. And then I believe my next show is a weed-themed show. It is a Jokes and Tokes show. This is going to be hosted by my buddy, actually, Ryan Vernell. I think the Ryan Show is actually presenting the show. It's a Jokes and Tokes show. We got a couple great comedians on this. Renee Fuentes, Big T, Joe Mahoney, Nick Tillelli. It's a 7 p.m. show at LI Glass. So LI Glass, 7 p.m. I think the doors are at 6. $20 entry. Okay, you must be 21 or older to enter. And after that is the June 9th show, which Rob just mentioned used to be Stereo. What's it called now?
It's not Stereo Garden?
No, it is Stereo Garden. Used to be Emporium.
Yeah. Yep.
Stereo Garden in Patchogue. Used to be Emporium. That is a 8 o'clock show, you said?
Yeah, that should be 8 o'clock. That's a big...
a lot of great people on that
venue,
show.
So we need people out at that one.
Yeah, please come out to that one. There's a lot of people on that show.
That place.
And then Friday... I think July 8th, I'm going to be in the Giggle Room with Terry McNeely. Friday, July 8th, I'll be in the Giggle Room with Terry McNeely. That's at Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown. We got a lot of great people on that. Jeff Bosey, Roseanne Sorrentino, Kristen Tinsley, Sherry Poland, Nick Wilkinson. I love Nick. Nick did fucking great last night.
Yeah.
And
he did too.
A lot of great people on the show.
Did.
So come on down, check it out, guys. All right, that's the end of the show. Thank you for tuning in. Rob, thank you for coming down. If you see any of our faces on posters, check it out. Thank you so much, guys. I'm the Millennial Stoner. Out.